So I'm working on a 2010 Ford Taurus right now with a 3.5 liter. This is one of the earlier motors that never really had leaks and stuff like that. Maybe some timing chain issues sometimes, but this one's got 128,000 miles on it. Still really solid, really clean. This is an uncommon exhaust leak. Here you can see where this is the gasket behind the flex pipe. So you have your Y pipe coming down. Normally those are the ones that leak up there, or the flex pipe itself blows out, but this is in still decent shape. What ended up happening is the bolts ended up snapping here, and I had to, one of them was about to snap, one did snap, and I had to blow them out. I had to heat them up with a torch, knock them out of there. And this gasket is 8 Golf, 1 Zebra, 5 Edward, 241 Apple. And this is the gasket that goes in between. See, I got this nice and cleaned up. And then I got this nice and cleaned up here, where it's real open, where this gasket will sit in there. And then there's a few nuts. These are the exact exhaust nuts that actually go on the vehicle. So I found some grade 5 bolts that I anti-seized, and these fit on there. But really, you can use any kind of equivalent nut that's pretty strong that will hold up. And now I'm going to go ahead and install the gasket on there and get it sucked up nice and even, just tightening up one side a little bit at a time. I did have to pull the hanger there, and then I had to tap on this a lot to get this to come off of there, to get all the rust to fall out of it, and then it would eventually let me hang it down. The hangers are in real good shape in the back. The other exhausts are not cracked or anything, so this is safe doing it this way. And then I took like a 35 grit disc grinder because it was so much rust, and cleaned all that out. And then I picked all that out with like a little bit of a chisel, a screwdriver, and just kind of ground it out as much as I could to get that original form back. So let's go ahead and put that gasket in there and get it all tight, and then test drive it. So we're gonna have to make some adjustments here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of a gap. It did seal up, but you can hear a little bit of a hiss. So I'm actually gonna have to go in here and more than likely heat these flange tips up and bend them back some, so it can actually suck the center of the exhaust in instead of hitting the flange part first and not pulling the center. So I'm gonna make that adjustment right now. I'm gonna use the torch, kind of bring these tips, the flange side here, back. I'm gonna take it so and I'm gonna bend it back just a hair so I can actually pull more of the center of the exhaust and not so much the outside. Unfortunately, I did have to use a little bit of exhaust cement around the flange, and I cleaned it up real nice. I had to back the gasket up because it was so pitted going into the flex pipe, to fill in all the pitting, because exhaust gases are getting behind it and blowing out. And then the flanges are so rusted, I use this as a backup, where I'll go in there, I'll clean everything up real good, I'll backfill the pitting, and then I'll take some and bring it out on the face, and then I'll suck it all together and let any excess squish out. And because this is downstream, it's on the low pressure side of everything that's going on, it should hold up just fine and last until this all comes apart again, 10-20 years from now. But unfortunately right now, this is how I had to do it, because the guy doesn't want to spend the money on a brand new like intermediate pipe, or the first resonator I should say. And he said just fix it, just get it done. So instead of new bolts, a gasket, and a little bit of muffler cement, this is what you get when you don't want to replace parts. You come up with the next best thing, and this should hold perfectly fine. So I'm gonna run it, go test drive it, and see what we got. Exhaust jobs that snowball. My repair held fine, beautiful, nothing coming out of there at all. And I get back here and I look, and I'm like, you fucking kidding me? So now I'm gonna have to put this back up there, and this guy don't want to spend a lot of money, and I don't want to give him his car back with it leaking. So I'm going to buzz that around and weld that back in and let him know you're gonna have to get a new resonator put in this thing, or a piece of pipe welded in place. But for right now, I'm gonna buzz it back in real quick. So it all came together. I welded that flange on that second resonator all the way around. This is what you get into when you get into these rusted vehicles and stuff. When people don't want to put a lot of money into them, they would rather just figure out other ways to fix it. Luckily, there was enough metal there, and it wasn't like all pitted, to where I could go around it with a grinder on an angle and grind down as much as I could, and just run a really nice
small bead all the way around, and then build up on top of that over into the good part of the thicker part of the flange. I mean, it's quiet, drove good, but this is for that exhaust leak, that mainly for that gasket, to show people kind of what we have to go through sometimes when we get these rusted out exhaust systems. And instead of replacing the whole thing and it being $600-700, the customer just paid $225 in labor, an hour and a half, and about $22 for the part. If he would have went somewhere else, you never know, he could have got that straight piped, but he didn't want that. He wanted the dealer guarantee. He wanted to be able to come here 6 months from now and know that if something goes wrong with the repair that was done, it's covered, instead of like a muffler shop where it's a 30-day guarantee. So he'd rather pay the $230, $235 to the dealer to get it fixed, the flange, the gasket, the nuts, the bolts, torching everything out, and then the resonator welded all the way around, because there was a lot of good metal there. It wasn't like completely wore through. He said, just do it. I'd rather have the guarantee than have to go to the muffler shop. And there's nothing wrong with the muffler shop, because if that would have been me, I would have went to the muffler shop. But it was his choice. And this is a kind of an odd leak, because that gasket flange, it never pops the bolts like that. It doesn't. I've never seen that. I've seen them leak up front, but never right there. Anyhow, thanks guys.